My name is Brandon and welcome to or welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you like what you see in here, you're more than welcome to hit the subscribe button so you stay notified every time I upload a new video. Okay, let's get straight on with today's video. Hello and welcome back to Is There More Brandon. So in this video I'm actually going to be doing a review of the second episode of The Apprentice. Now, like I said, we have already lost one contestant from the application process so far, but we still have 17 people left in the running and 17 potential business partners for Lord Alan Sugar. So at the beginning of the second episode, we found out that the contestants were going to be going to Hutong, which is a famous restaurant at the Shard, and for the task, they were going to be making their own steamed buns with a filling of their choice. So they were making bao buns, which is generally just a steamed bun with a savoury filling, and it probably could just contain anything. And then in terms of the project managers, Bradley kind of put himself forward saying it's not his industry, but he could give it a go. And then in terms of the girls, I think Rochelle, Victoria and Megan all put themselves forward. I think Rochelle put herself forward first, then it was Victoria, and then also Megan jumped in as well. And I think, yeah, everyone kind of put Victoria or Megan as their first choice for project manager, purely because they were both in the sweets industry and they probably had some sort of knowledge regarding this. So Megan became the project manager. And like I said, there was something that I saw about her in the previous episode that I was like, actually there is something that I like about her. So let's hope that she obviously did well as the project manager. In terms of the original flavours and what they wanted to go with, I think the boys decided that meat was the most popular in terms of the fillings that they should go for, and Reese actually added for the boys to think about what fillings have they eaten, what do they like, and potentially just to go with that, because at least there would be a familiar type of filling that they would all be going for rather than just going for something random and hoping it works. For the girls, Danny said something vegan or veggie works quite well. Rochelle added that potentially fish would be a good option, and then that could obviously sell to people that don't eat things like chicken or anything else, for example, or cheese. And then, yeah, if we start with the boys and what they kind of did first. So project manager Bradley chose Reese, Avi, Mark and Gregory to go to the kitchen, along with Kevin. He was to be the sub-team leader. Kevin actually fought back. I wouldn't say fought back, but he kind of said that he's an accountant and he didn't really seem fit to be in the kitchen. It kind of wasn't really his forte. So I think that was kind of a bit of a blip for Bradley. Kind of your team is telling you, or someone in your team is telling you that they don't have a strength somewhere, and that they would continue to be put in that particular role anyway. So yeah, I think Bradley should have listened, but also I think Kevin could have probably stood up for himself a little bit more. In terms of the actual foods and the pricings, both teams did it completely differently. So with the boys, Reese kind of put his 2 pence in and said that they should work out the prices first, and also measuring obviously the amount of ingredients that they wanted to use. In the bao buns, Avi said to just focus first on flavour. So I think in this particular situation, this particular task, you do want to make sure that the flavour tastes good, but also at the same time, you want to make sure that you're not going out of your budget. So I think both are just as important as each other, but I think if you work out the budget first, you can then work out what ingredients you can get with that budget. So I would probably have gone for the price first, the budget, and then also with that budget, then you know exactly what ingredients you can focus on. So in terms of the brand that they were kind of creating these bao buns for the boys, they had a luggage brand, so a kid's luggage brand, and it was celebrating its 16th birthday. The theme was something around dragons, so they obviously wanted something that kind of was dragon related, because I think they were releasing a new dragon idea or a new dragon design. So the boys had to kind of think about something for kids, something to do with luggage, and something to do with a dinosaur, or something dinosaur or dragon related. So Avi said that it was probably a good idea to go for a simple design. Kevin said that potentially they should go for a green dragon design, so having a green dragon incorporated some way on the bao bun or inside the bao bun. And whilst they were preparing the bao buns, the first batch actually exploded. So you could see some of them were okay, but the majority of them had kind of popped because the pastry had been rolled too thin. Again, Avi was the problem for that. I think he was one of the ones that was rolling the pastry. He was being a little bit rushed, but also I think he was kind of the only one at first who was doing the rolling. He obviously just didn't know what he was doing. He gave it a go, didn't know what he was doing, and that's why the first lot actually all blew up. And Sahel basically explained that he was a bit worried about the corporate order. So for this luxury brand, that they weren't going to have enough cakes, or they weren't going to have enough good, edible, like bao bun cakes. Joe started helping Bradley to create the next batch with dinosaurs on. So I think they had 2 different types of cakes in the end. I think they had the more plain ones, which was probably just green, I think they had. And they also had the dinosaur cakes where they kind of made eyes and things on top. And then in terms of the girls, it was Shannon, Danny and Victoria, along with sub-team leader Rochelle. So the 4 of them were in the kitchen. So again, for them, because Rochelle had previous experience with cooking, she kind of went straight in head first with working out flavours rather than actually thinking about money or budget. So yeah, they were, I think it was Karen that was in the kitchen with the girls, and she kind of was like, well, they haven't thought about the quantity, they haven't thought about the costs. And Rochelle said that they didn't want to just rely on katsu as their flavour, they wanted to have other different things as well. So they had to work out how many bao buns they wanted to make, which I think was about 400, and how many different ingredients they needed, or how much it would cost for the different ingredients. They weren't able to work out 45 times 400, and obviously they don't have their phones, so they are having to do that manually. And in the end, they kind of ordered, I think, 2 or 3 batches less of the pastry than they actually needed, so they weren't able to make anywhere near the 400 bao buns. And in terms of their corporate client, they had a golf swinging adventure place, which was a luxury brand, quite Instagrammable, and they were also putting on an event. So yeah, they went in terms of the pricings, and Megan basically said that potentially this could be the new trend, having these kind of like fancy and classy bao buns, and she admitted that the prices were £9. I think in the end the corporate buyer accepted on about 6 or 7 or something like that, I'm not too sure exactly, but they didn't get the 9 that they asked for. And Shannon said to the team that they need to keep the design simple, obviously simple, but also you can still have simple and classy at the same time. So again, the 4 girls were tasting the different ingredients and working out what they were trying to do for the cakes. After the taste test by Victoria, she said it's lovely. So they knew what the flavour was that they were making. Now they needed to just work out the ingredients and how much it will cost. Victoria then on the phone, or I think in person, I'm not sure if it was on the phone or in person, basically said to Megan that they wanted to make 400 bao buns and they only had enough to fill 70 because they messed up the numbers and obviously ordered that incorrectly. And in the end, they managed to make 128. So from the original 70, they did manage to squeeze that out by double, so that wasn't too bad. And then, yeah, when it came to going back to the corporate client, I think with the boys, their corporate client was happy, and he kind of explained that it doesn't, like, obviously the dinosaur it didn't look like great, it wasn't great art. And Joe quickly came in and said, like, imagine a kid, their parents would rather buy a 4-year-old's work rather than something from Picasso. So I think it's that thing of the products are aimed at children, so it needs to be something that children like. They wouldn't understand it if it was some weird, amazing art. They want something simple. They go, oh, mummy, daddy, dinosaur. So I think, yeah, the boys did quite well there. And the corporate client also said that he loved the vibe, the brand, and also the cake. And Simba said that they actually only made 48 because the others didn't pass quality control, which in the basic English basically means the others are the ones that blew up. So they only had 48, and I think they had a few spares that they were able to flog off. And then again with the girls, their corporate client was also quite happy, managed to buy all of them, and I think they also had a few spares, so they managed to sell those extra few as well. In terms of when it came to the selling, so the boys ended up being at some sort of market, and I think they had Gregory in some sort of suit, basically not chanting but singing about the different bao buns and getting people over to their stall. And I think the only thing that they were missing out on was obviously being able to sell things like the sauces and the toppings and the extra little bits as extra. They were just kind of chucking them on as freebies, so free sauce, free this, free that. And they at first were selling their bao buns 2 for £8.50. It was Tim saying that they should actually start charging for those little extra things because they were doing it for free and they could actually be making little bits of extra money by charging for those. In terms of the girls, it was quite funny because I think it was Danny. She basically said to one of the other girls that they should go and have a look at the other stalls. There was another bao bun stall doing bao buns, 2 bao buns for £9. And both Danny and Victoria said that they should bump their price up to £9.50. Again, they were only overcutting by another 50p, but it just meant that they were always going to be making more profit than the other place, and they potentially could also charge extra for their toppings and extras, unlike what the boys did. So again, it kind of put them here at a little bit of an advantage. Danny was actually quite a good seller as well. She just said to the girls that she doesn't even like fish, but she was still managed to flog some of the bao buns, and I think she actually said that to one of the customers. They ended up coming back buying some more, and yeah, that was pretty much it for the task. When we came back to the boardroom, unfortunately Shannon decided that she wanted to leave the process. She kind of just said it wasn't really the environment for her. It was a bit of a shock. I mean, I wouldn't say I was surprised that someone was going to leave, but I wasn't sure that it was Shannon that was going to say that. I'm not sure what kind of prompted her to leave, but yeah, it was obviously quite disappointing because, again, she was one of those ones that she was just starting to come out of her shell. So yeah, it was very, very sad to see her go. And then when it came to the profits, so I think the boys they spent £166. They made, in terms of the sales, £765.40. And in terms of the profit, I think that says £590.99p or £509.99p. So yeah, that wasn't too bad. But in terms of the girls, they actually spent a lot more than that. So they spent over £200. They made £975 from the sales, which gave them a profit of just over £754. So by about 100 and something or 200 and a bit, the girls won, and they were able to go for a luxury fine dining evening to a Chinese restaurant. So that was quite nice. So yeah, 1-1 for the boys and the girls now. So the boys won the first task, girls lost Emma. Second task, the girls won. And then in terms of the project manager, Bradley, he decided to bring both Avi and Kevin back in. I think for Avi, he was probably brought back in because he maybe wasn't able to roll the pastries well enough. And obviously Kevin was brought in probably because he was quite quiet, but maybe because he was kind of going against the project manager towards the beginning, saying that he shouldn't have been in the kitchen. And then again, similarly to Emma in the first task, instead of dealing with it, just was moaning about the situation. So in the end, it was quite an obvious firing, I guess, for Lord Sugar. He got rid of Kevin. But again, I do feel bad for Kevin because, like I said, he did say to Bradley, I think on several occasions and actually multiple times, that he's an accountant and he shouldn't really be in the kitchen. He should be on the sales side, or he should be in the sales pitch kind of side. So maybe he should have just stood up for himself that little bit more. But like I said, he was the second person to obviously be removed from the process, and now we only have 15 people left because obviously Shannon has left now as well. So that is it for the second episode of The Apprentice. Like I said, we've gone down from 18 people to 17 people and now to 15 people. So we have our final 15. So we just need to see what will happen next, whether Lord Sugar will switch the teams for episode 3 or whether he'll keep them the same just for one more week. But yeah, if you did enjoy, don't forget to like, comment, chat and subscribe. Like I said, my strong ones are still the same strong ones as before. Joe, Gregory, Marnie, Megan. So hopefully they will continue in the process. And like I said, let's see what happens as we get further along. But yeah, if you did enjoy, don't forget to support the channel, and there'll be more content coming soon. And yeah, other than that, enjoy the rest of your day, evening, or wherever you are, and I will be back very, very soon. So until then, thank you and goodbye.